thinking the other day about some businesses that have proliferated in recent years that you used to never see. For instance, the businesses that sell utility trailers. Man, it used to be rare that you would see a vehicle pulling a utility trailer, and now, man, you see them everywhere, and they're loaded down with lawnmowers and stuff. One reason is because everybody used to mow their own yard. And now you hire somebody. Maybe that's one of the proliferations of businesses, or lawn care businesses. And everybody used to take care of their own yard, and now you hire somebody. You've got to have these trailers. Here's one that I thought of. The number of businesses that sell utility buildings, storage buildings. I've got a storage building and a barn, a well house, an attic, granny's cabin. They're all full. Now, why is there this proliferation? How many of you got a storage building? Okay. Why is there a proliferation of those kinds of things? It's because of the stuff that we have. Anybody in the last year or two moved? Did you find stuff that's been in a box since the last time you moved? And you just moved that box from that spot to the new spot, and you're not even sure what's in that box. But it's your stuff. What good is stuff? Really? I mean, it just had a church member once, and now she was very, very disciplined, and she went through her stuff. Now, she had it organized, and she had it inventoried. She had her stuff inventoried. Now, it came in handy. Delta Airlines lost Miss Sherry's suitcase. Wrong person to go back with. She called them. dare say that many of you count the number of packages for your kids, grandkids. Want to make sure they get the right number of packages and the same number of packages. And most of what you have bought them falls into that category of stuff. Now, it may be expensive stuff, but it's stuff. My brother was born on Christmas. Man, what a Christmas present. He was born on Christmas Day. I remember when he was maybe 2 years old. We were at my grandma's for Christmas spending lots of money on stuff. We're working ourselves into an early grave so we can buy more stuff that never makes us really happy. It takes away from home. It takes away from our relationships. It takes us out of our kids' life. It takes out of so many things that it draws us away from. And much of what we're spending that money on is not stuff that we have to have. It is stuff. Many of us live in a much larger house than we really need. We might need to build a garage to park our vehicles. More than big kind of guns, you're going to drive one at a time. But we accumulate stuff. Have you ever tried to just simplify? That is, Miss Sherry that I mentioned, that is a pretty good thing. Now, I don't know if you have to do it every 6 months, but you kind of go through and say, do I really need this stuff? And to evaluate and to get rid of stuff that you don't need and to simplify your life. I remember one of my friends who he in his life felt like God was calling them to international missions. And they started the process. They told their church, that they told others, be praying for us. We have surrendered to missions. They contacted the International Mission Board. It takes about a year to go through all that you have to do as the International Mission Board. You have to do psychological tests and all kinds of things. And so they started the process. And they went kind of to their first meeting with their advisor who's going to help them walk through. And very, 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 very early in the process, they were asked about debt. And at the end of evaluation of their financial situation, the advisor said, when you get this taken care of, pause. But we really can't go any further. Because it wouldn't be wise for us to appoint you as a missionary and you've got this debt. Now, you know what their debt was? Cars, my new gun? Huh? No, like Mama said, if you're going to shoot one, I really don't need another one. And my favorite shotgun I bought when I was in, I think I was 16. Tell you where I bought it. I bought it in the sporting goods section of J.C. Penney's in Central Mall. It's been a long time since J.C. Penney's had a gun section. But they did. is easy